Hey, welcome back to True Gossip, where gossip meets truth. I'm your host, Tanya Cole Lennon, and we have Jamel Cole on the panel along with John Kinlaw. Welcome back, gang. And in this episode, we're breaking down the biggest political moves. We're exposing the games being played in Washington, D.C., and getting into what the streets are really saying. You already know we're certifying a true mess and we're crowning a true gem because some of these leaders are fumbling while others are actually making a difference. This is unfiltered, real talk, so subscribe now, turn on your notification, and let's get into it.
Are defending President Trump's actions. My next guest is apologizing to the world. Jasmine Crockett is a Democratic congressman from Texas and sits on the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. And I'm awfully glad to have you here because I read what you said, apologizing to the world. And I want to go deeper into it because you said, I'm sorry that the bright light America used to be is dimming. Why did that whole interaction seem to be so distant for you, for what the U.S. stands for?
Besides the fact that we're talking about an ally, we're talking about Ukraine, a country that was invaded. First, it started off with trying to change the facts. We don't live in a world of alternative facts, trying to change the reality of who invaded who. After we kept saying that Trump was nothing but Putin's puppet, we kept saying that he was palling around with Putin. We've said it all kinds of ways. But this comes at the heels of the UN voting with Russia. This also then is an opportunity for Trump to show that, no, America knows who our friends are and we're going to stand with those friends. And unfortunately, he decided that he wanted to talk about his clothes. Now, maybe this is because Trump never wanted to go serve his country. And right now, the only service that he's giving to us is driving our country apart. But I'm sorry, when you're at war, you're not worried about your outfit. That is what we call a privilege. Number one. Number two, to say, oh, what can you afford? Well, if he was walking around in the fanciest suits, I'm sure that they would accuse him of taking our dollars and spending it on his wardrobe and being more concerned about that. Listen, this is a no-win situation when you're walking in with someone who has decided that he is going to align himself with a dictating thug.
Okay, so to that end, we know before the exchange, what was supposed to happen was there was going to be the signing of this preliminary mineral deal, at least, right? Aiming to end the war, but without Trump committing to any security guarantees. I mean, you say that peace should not have a price tag, but there are some Republicans, as you know, and the president claiming that, oh, you know what, America is being taken advantage of here. Is there a middle ground we can get to?
There's not a middle ground with this president. He has no intentions of doing right by, number one, the United States. I appreciate what the former governor was saying. We are in a national security crisis. We have been in a national security crisis ever since, honestly, before he even ran.
All right, guys. So I'm going to leave it right there, and then we'll come back. So, Jamel, what do you think what Jasmine Crockett is saying?
I mean, I have two minds about what she's saying because, in one hand, like, I agree with her that, like, what is this, a wrestling match that we're doing? Like, and then, like, what does this project out to the world about, like, what America's plans are for its other allies, right? Like, what does it say that, like, we can bring an ally to the Oval Office just to make a mockery of him, like, talk about his clothes, talk about his country, talk about everything that, all of the money and how it's been misappropriated, whatever else he was saying during the Oval Office, and then like shout at him like he's a petulant child. I think that it doesn't look good for us. But I think where I kind of have a second mind with what Jasmine is saying is like it's almost like she's trying to say like we used to be something like to admire, like America was a bright light. When was America this bright light? That like I guess like or like by dream of or whatever. I feel like I don't know. I feel like even when we entered the Ukraine war, there was a lot of I feel like there was a lot of what is it? Like two feelings that America had. Like there was some that said we need to help our ally, but then there were others that were saying this is a waste of our money. Like we just came out of a pandemic. We're spending all this money and all these other foreign affairs. The war had just broken out in Israel, and here we are like giving money to Ukraine to help their effort when we can't even help ourselves. So I
All right.
think that yeah, two minds about it, like because yeah, I'm not on Trump's side, but like I don't think that America is this bastion of human rights and like, like I don't think that we're sitting here all kumbaya with the rest of the world. This is just what we do to our allies.
All right. Well,
Like,
so Ken Lord, what do you say to what Jamel said that we are not the bright light, the beacon of what Jasmine Crockett is saying?
I mean that's subjective. That's according to who you ask. But to get back to the initial question of far as Jasmine Crockett, I agree with Jamel that there's two sides to it. One is, for one, that was an organized sideshow that took place in the Oval Office. It was planned. There was no reason for 50 additional individuals besides maybe the vice president and the president be sitting side by side with President Zelensky. You saw Mark Rubio. He looked very uncomfortable in that setting. He will probably be reprimanded for that type of posture because it didn't show strength. It showed someone who didn't know what type of party he was going into, and I'm ready to go home. That right there, that body language right there told you everything that you need to know about that whole setting. In perspective to the war that is taking place between Ukraine and Russia, I think for the last part of the last 2 years or so, people have become tone deaf to that because they're worried about how they're going to pay for their own bills and how to make breakfast without eggs. How can they get creative on that? So I just don't know when we're talking about this subject of Ukraine, it just doesn't resonate the same as other things that are very dear and close to us right here in the U.S. As far as the beacon of light, um, I stay in a neighborhood where it's pretty diverse. I have Egyptian neighbors, I have Asian neighbors, I have Asian Indian neighbors, and so forth and so on. I have family that are foreigners as well. And to many of those individuals, America has been that beacon of light that has given them opportunities to not only do well for themselves, but also other relatives to pull together and bring over. So it's just a matter of perspective of who you ask in that question. And I'm not saying what Ball is saying or the question that he poses is not wrong at all, because there are multiple reasons I think African Americans can say, hey, there's a number of reasons why we ain't really feeling the same type of way.
Well, I'm gonna put it like this. I'm just gonna listen. I might be like the most radical person. I might be the one that's going to say, "Hey, listen, I'm with Jasmine Crockett. We owe that man an apology because he was berated in that office. It was
yeah,
a setup for him to come in there to look like a fool. But
yeah.
he did stand his ground. He did say
Yeah.
what he had to say. But then JD Vance is like wants him to bow down and kiss the ring and say thank you when he already said that multiple times already. So, and
Yeah.
what you said about Rubio looking, you're right. That body language was like he
Right.
was like scared. He was embarrassed. He didn't know what to say. He
He
was
went
he
to the
was
bathroom
taken
right there.
he was
Excuse
taken
me.
off guard.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I be excused? That was his whole body language there. But I'll tell you what, uh, as a response to that, as you saw, I think today or yesterday, there was another UN meeting or some type of NATO meeting where a lot of leaders from the European, regions, they all, and even Canada, Prime Minister Canada, they all embraced President Zelensky. So it's going to be interesting to see how, the rest of the world kind of bands together and see how they come into support. If anything, it gives them opportunity to build maybe leverage with Ukraine.
Something.
They'll say, hey, America don't want it. Let's see what we can do.
Listen, Jamel, what you were saying about the beacon and being the beacon of the light, I understand what you're saying, but America is the one that people look up to. Like, we are the ones that have the democracy. We're the ones that have the power. We're the ones that people want to be like. And without those allies, if like I'm dead serious. Like
But this is
if
how we
wait,
treat our allies. Like,
but what I'm wait, let me finish real quick. Then you can jump in, right? Without those allies, what are we going to do? What I'm saying is that he's talking about that, oh, Putin, but now, like Kinlaw said, everybody is that was in NATO is embracing
mhm.
Zelensky. So where does that leave us? Are we vulnerable? Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to my earlier point that you brought up, like the reason why I say that I think that people should maybe stop seeing us as this beacon of light is because this is the way that historically we treat our allies. Our gifts are always laced with poison. Now, I'm not saying that like living here is like this terrible thing because I love living in America. You know, I think that America offers an opportunity for people to, you know, cross-pollinate their cultures, to learn about one another, to learn about the rest of the world. But I think that like whenever America gives gifts, like it comes in the form of a financial aid package that oftentimes comes at the behest of the rest of the country, where they're beholden to us in order to pay back those bills. And what do they pay them back with? The very notes that put them in debt to begin with. Like, and a lot of times, like it leads to the destruction of these countries all the time, or it leaves them at our behest. Like the reason why Ukraine is in this position to begin with is because you can never really make a promise like and hold it here in America because like every couple of years the people who made that promise to you rotate and they always reserve the right to just
That makes
you
sense.
know if the law allows to just reverse everything and your friends are now gone. Everyone who you knew like that like was amicable to your, you know, to your state suddenly are all gone and now you're left with the burden of having to like learn about a new administration, make new friends who might not be amicable to your thing. So I think that like the trick of America is, yeah, if we ever need anything, all we have to do is just put the right faces in place. Like I remember a while ago when Obama came into office, there was a lot of foreign relations being made with Nigeria, making sure that when they had a black face with a man who came from Nigeria, suddenly we can start to like create all of these like new embargo deals, these new what is it, foreign aid packages that go out to Nigeria, and now they're starting to suffer the burden of those deals that they made back during the Obama era. So like, you know, it just,
Well,
you know,
Jamel, you're
like.
breaking up. We can't hear you.
Uh,
So I don't know
uh,
what's going on with your internet, but let me ask Kinlaw. So Trump said to Zelensky that he will stop this war. He will help them if he signed the papers to sign over his minerals. And that's basically what Jamel is saying. It's a quid, what you call that? Quid pro quo, whatever that.
our gifts are laced with poison.
Yeah, our gifts are laced with poison or whatever, right? But
It's,
what do you
it's,
think about that?
it should have been something that was negotiated on camera because that was a very sloppy presentation. I've
Very.
been in sales for quite a few years, and for the most part, it's not what you say, it's how you say it in a lot of cases. And he didn't, that just didn't roll out the way it needed to, and it caused a very contentious, it's almost like my way or the highway out the gate.
That's
And
exactly what it
no
was.
partnership wants that at all. I think that the reason why, or I think Zelensky was smart enough to understand that it was not going to be a win situation for him. And
Yeah.
what he was trying to explain to Trump was that this mineral deal is not going to stop Putin and what his agenda is. He's
Yeah,
what is it that you're going to do for him? Because I'm not hearing that part.
Right.
I'm not
yeah,
hearing that part. What is it that you're going to do to Russia? It's all about Ukraine. And you're calling me the bad guy because of my dislikeness towards Putin. But
Right.
there's significant reasons behind that. He's killing
yeah,
my citizens. He's killing, you know,
Yeah.
there's people we were, we're, look how we did, Saddam Hussein. Look how we did wasn't Bin Laden, excuse me, There are people that have suffered for years and years and years because of harm that they've done to America. So why wouldn't this guy have a change of tone for the things that Putin has done to his people? And they're right next to each other.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Well, go ahead, Jamel. What was your thought on that?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, to me, like, I think this is the whole point of the Trump administration. Like, they want to be thanked for their works. They want their ring to be kissed. Like, I remember when he did that executive order that was gonna get rid of like what was the month? Black History Month last month or whatever, just for him to turn it around and say, "Hey, I signed this executive order, bringing it and making it the national one." And it's like, what are we supposed to thank you? Like, but that's what he wants. He wants for his name to be like the one that you remember when, you know, like he
When he
wants to
signed the
become,
check for the when he
yeah, the
give out
same
those
thing.
stimulus checks until he got his
Yeah.
name on it, right?
Same thing.
But
And then there's also like this rhetoric like that I think that has been going around where it's like they're saying that this whole Oval Office ordeal is just like to sh like a show of strength to Russia that like we're friends because like there's been a story reported on the Hill about like how apparently Trump has been a KGB
right,
a KGB asset for 40 like since 1987.
that's what they
Yeah.
said, right? And they're
So
investigating that right now. So I want to switch it up a little bit, right? So who is who is the president of the United States? Is it
Elon
Elon Musk or is it number 47, Trump?
I mean,
Who's the president?
You go first, Jamel.
I mean, like, okay, like, I think Elonia Muskrat is, I think that he definitely plays a big hand and like a lot of like the things that have been moving forward. But I don't think it's him alone. I think that he just represents the broader issue that like we have too much money, like, in the White House, and he's just willing to be the stupid, he's the one that's stupid enough to be the face of all of that. Like I I'm not sure how much he really is able to control him, but I do think he has an ego problem where like he just can't stay out of his own way. And I think that that's why they chose him to kind of like be like, his patsy. Like
But my
Elon's taking
thing
a
is,
lot of
but I'm gonna let Kinlaw go. But my thing is that he's not a government official.
no.
He has contracts that what they say is $8 billion a day that he gets, right? And then he's not only in the government trying to remove these people from what they say is that he got rid of the people who was investigating his contracts. So
Yeah.
it's a conflict of interest. So what do you think about that, Kinlaw? About what's going on with Elon Musk? Is he the president or what?
President Musk, did I say that out loud? Listen, it comes down to this. There are a lot of things that everybody on this panel right now will say that, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this." Well, would you do this type of work if I paid you X, Y, Z? Would you do this type of work if I paid you X, Y, Z? Well, how much?
Right.
Let's just say $77,000. That's okay. Let's say $277,000. Where do I go? Where do I
Right.
move? You mean to tell me $277 million ain't gonna make you jump
Right.
like a dog, a big dog, act like an orangutan? So come to me. So I think that Elon Musk paid for his position to be a part of the White House.
Yes, he
I
did.
think
He
I,
paid.
I
He actually
on the eight ball.
paid the election for him to win. Actually, that's
I
what he
think
did.
he has access to some things on Trump
Right.
as insurance to where,
Information. Yeah.
if you know X, Y, and Z, then I'm gonna expose this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why he's able to play in the Oval Office himself with his kids and
Right.
literally ish on the desk of the president.
Right.
Right.
not allow anybody else to do anything such. Why? How do we know? Because we've seen him in office for 4 years before. We
Yes.
know that type of individual. He is the alpha male in
Yes.
his mind, and he feels like he has to be the biggest guy whatsoever. You mean to tell me that Elon Musk can walk in your office and have just as much freedom as you? There can't be two
No,
alphas.
more freedom because he
More.
stands up over him as the alpha, and
And
that when you stand up over somebody and you're sitting down, that's the authority figure right there.
does not
But he
interfere. He does not overtalk. He does
Nope.
not chime
He
in when.
doesn't say nothing when he's talking. Nothing.
But I think the part of the story that a lot of people are missing when it comes to Elon is like, well, why? Like, why is he like, is information enough to allow him to be in this thing? And it's like, no, like people have missed the fact that a tech oligarchy has formed inside of this country
Right.
over the past decade. And it's not just Elon alone. Like right now, during the same time, like Apple has brokered deals with the United States in order to continue to fund M23 militia that's killing all those people in Congo in order to get those resources for them to make their next phone. Like they're one of the biggest investors in making sure that Congo stays destabilized. And those laws were just renewed during this administration while Elon is in office. And the thing is like this tech oligarchy, like Kinlaw was saying, like their claim to fame, the reason why nobody wants to mess with them is that they have put themselves in a position where they have access to absolutely all the information that they could possibly need. They didn't need to cheat on the election or anything like that. They already had the information that they needed. The election cheating and all the other stuff just adds more fuel to the already existing fire that has been building up over years. They've been collecting right now, the government's biggest cell phone and tech contracts are going to Apple and going to Microsoft and going to IBM. Like they've already had like this information. They've just been kind of holding on to it for a moment like now, where a president is scared enough and needy enough, right? Because Trump has no accolades on his own. He needs these people around him in order to legitimize himself. So,
Well,
like,
to get to the point what you said when you mentioned Microsoft, so Bill Gates had an interview the other day on one of the platforms, and they asked him, "Does Elon Musk have too much access?" And he never really answered the question, but he basically, and I'm just paraphrasing it, so don't quote me on this. He
Mhm.
said something to the fact that um nobody should have that access that's not basically like in the administration, right? He says
Mhm.
Microsoft doesn't have that access.
Mhm.
Basically, that's what he's saying. But
But that's a dog whistle because he wants Microsoft to have that access.
right, but to turn the tables, right? What about what they're doing to the media? You know what I'm saying? Here we are. We're in the. I call myself an independent media because I like to get the news out. I like to talk about stuff. I like things to get out there that people that don't want to talk about. Like, what are the people in the street saying? Basically, right? So they can't mess with us right now, which is like these independent platforms or whatever that's not getting money from the media, whatever. But they messing with the people on the regular media. They getting rid of top people who are talking about stuff that we are talking about and was out there calling them out. So what do y'all think about them getting rid of Joy Reid on MSNBC? A top figure, a great name, and someone who will call them out. What do you think?
I think this is gonna work for her benefit. I think this is good for Joy. Like MSNBC was holding her back. Like, and if you look at like Don Lemon's trajectory,
I
like Don
love it. Yes.
in his best form right now that he's been released from CNN. He's able to like report on the stories that he wants to. He's able to give the narrative that he would like to do. He's able to write out his own, like he's able to do his own journalism. He's able to hire other people around him. Like Don Lemon has a team of people, that like believe in his mission. And so I think that this is actually a
Okay. I want to
win
stop you for a
for
second,
Joy.
right? I'm gonna let you finish, and then I want Kinlaw to go, right?
Yeah,
But my
that.
thing, is, they are trying to silence the people
Yeah.
that had that voice. And what I'm saying is, do you think that it's going to get to the point where we will have just like what they want us to hear? Like, do you think that we're going to get to that point? Do you think we're going to get to that point where we're going to be like Russia, where there is
already there.
the media that they want us to hear?
We're already there. You're looking at the White House press secretary pretty much let it be known. Anything that goes against the narrative of the Trump administration, privilege for you to be here, period. They've already booted out
AP
out of the Oval Office. They've already booted out a couple people. So the young lady from CNN that's asking some very direct, pointed, clear, conscientious questions, it's going to be her turn next. And then it's going to be the guy, got their names, whatever. But there are some people that are holding them accountable or asking accountable questions. And they're going to have nothing but Fox News correspondents or Breitbart, whatever, and a bunch of foreigners that, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, we're already there.
Yeah.
Forget about the Constitution. They don't care about the Constitution. So the First Amendments and all this other stuff, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, that's over with. They let it be known. It's clear. That's why he has only yes men and yes women on his team. That's why they're getting rid of all the inspector generals and all these other people that's going to cover the checks and balances.
Talking about how they got rid of all those generals, all those people who was in place in the military, the attorneys and stuff like that kept them accountable and told them that basically, listen, we cannot go through with this. This is unethical. We can't do it. Go.
So, I mean, when it comes to that, every administration over the years have brought in their own people, their own generals, their own picks to a certain degree. And then there's been those who have held a certain level of respect and rapport with both Congress and the White House to where we're comfortable with what they've been doing and what they bring to the table and respect them on both sides of the aisle. We have someone in office who is so hard driven on not repeating the same things that they did. It's the politics as we known growing up, I'm pretty sure in Jamel's entire lifetime, is no longer the same.
No.
This is an authoritative, whatever that word.
Authoritative.
Administration. He only wants people that's going to allow him to do and say and think what he wants to do. There was generals in place that have been a part of the political circle for years, and he's gotten rid of those people so much to the point where I think he removed.
Have been in there for 20 and 30 years from presidents, from not just Republicans but Democrats, and they stayed in line because they was ethically correct.
And they're not politically driven, right?
Right.
Neutral. And he has people that have a political bias, not only just from the military standpoint, but also from the local law enforcement. I mean, from the Attorney General to the FBI, the whole shebang. This is unprecedented for sure. And I think that, again, last time there was people that was holding him, even on his team, the John Kellys or whatnot, the press conference people. There was people that was able to hold him in just long enough. Now he's like, no, this ain't gonna be the same. I want to make sure everybody is vetted that's going to be on my team is going to understand I have the last word and what I say goes. That's why you have these people who, based upon their own words, it's not based on merit. It's not based on qualifications, which is crazy because the whole thing with DEI was to make sure that the people that had those qualifications outside of the status quo also had those opportunities. It wasn't that they wasn't qualified. They was qualified in a lot of cases, but they overlooked just because they wasn't the right fit.
Exactly. Or right color.
Or the right gender, because really the biggest people who benefited from DEI were white women. So
all of that. So, it's just a number. So yes, we are from your concerns and fears, Tanya, we are already there. And I think that's why people have not spoken out as much as beforehand, because they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the Supreme, they
Yep.
have FBI, they have the military,
That's dictation, right? That's
they have the
dictatorship right there.
right? I mean, it's like at some point in time, you got to say, we just got to sit back and just take this L.
Yeah. I mean,
Go ahead, Jamel.
it's a circus, man. Like he has Peter Hegseth as like the Secretary of Defense. Like, and just recently he announced that like all cybersecurity efforts against Russia we need to pause. You know, like so now we're not looking into Russia at all. They're of no threat to America, I guess is what they would like us to believe. You know, at the same
And we
time,
know that's not true.
yeah, but you know, like this is where we're at in this country. And I mean, I guess we do need to like really kind of resolve to ourselves as American, like who are our bedfellows now? You know, like who is our administration putting us like in relations with? Because now it's like starting to seem like we're becoming an arm of the Russian oligarchy. And you know, I don't know, man. I don't know where we're going. I don't, and honestly, I don't know if this is I don't know. I don't know if this isn't necessarily not representative of just the America that we've always known. It's just like it's just that we're on the opposite side of, you know, the missions that we're going towards. Because like right now it seems like they're trying to like start World War III. And
I
that's
know.
kind of scary, I
So
think, for
I want to
people.
show the rest of, we got about a couple of minutes of Jasmine Crockett. And I want to go back to that real quick for us to hear a little bit more of what she want to say, because I want us to end on the note of like what is happening in our democracy, because she is one that speaks out. She's not afraid. And that's what I want to get to. I
She should
want
run
to
for
get to,
president.
wait, let me finish. I want to get to the fact that there's people that are afraid to speak out and say exactly what it is that needs to be said. And I want to know, like, why are people fearful? Like, why? Before I play that, I want each one of you to tell me, why do you think that the American people are fearful of speaking out as like Jasmine Crockett? Because she speaks out.
You want to start, Kinlaw, or should I?
I think there's a number of reasons, in my opinion. I think, and you know, we talk about Trump. My thing is, there's not as much shock value for me this time around as it was the first time around. We know what we was getting. January 6th told me everything I needed to know.
Yeah.
So we already know what we was getting with that. I'm a big believer in once somebody show you who they are,
Yes.
you believe them. You
Yeah.
need to believe them. And some people, they continue to want to turn the other cheek or give, you know, face value for whatever reason. I'm not that type of
Me
person.
either.
I can still deal with you being a person that, or being the person that has the character of things that I don't like,
Right.
because you're consistent with it. I would, and excuse my language, but I'm the type of person where if you're an asshole, stay that way.
Hmm.
Don't switch up on me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like, give me that.
I like the asshole I know than the one I don't.
So I'm not tripping off of Trump because I know what he's going to do. I'm
Hmm.
tripping off of those who decided just to kind of give grace to it or overlook
Hmm.
or look past or chastise the previous candidates. There used to be a time where Mitt Romney was the elitist because he was a billionaire. And we've elected a billionaire twice who's an asshole on top of that, you know, and is immorally fit, you know. So, and then, you know, from Obama and all this stuff, we made him get rid of his relationship with his own pastor because he spoke of some things that he felt about America.
Oh,
I
right.
think, I think that, I think
Thanks for
that,
bringing that up, Ken Lord, because that is actually true. That's right.
so here we are. And I think for Black people are sitting this one out because they feel like, in my view, in my opinion, the sentiment is that this is not our fight.
Right. This isn't our country anymore, really.
75% or more voted for Kamala. Now, I feel some type of way for those who decided to whether or not, because whether she was black enough or not, whatever,
Or she was a female, right?
Or whatever. But for the most part, majority of us supported her. I side out those who sided with Trump, and now they're facing the repercussions of that, especially with the Latino community.
Right.
Because there's colorism in that culture as well, and some of them, like the Cubans and the those that are close to central Mexico, they try to fit into this Caucasian group. Like it trips me out when they say white Hispanic. What is that? I don't know what that is. But you have those categories now, and they actually they think that they're a
They
part of
thought
it.
it wasn't them. Oh,
Right.
this is not me.
He was talking about the Haitians and everybody else, and now he went straight after them.
Yep.
So I just think that it's not that people are scared or afraid. I just think that people just feel like it's not our fight.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to like the public, yeah, that's the sentiment. But I think when it comes to like the administration, like the people in Congress and all this other stuff, I think that there is a deep-rooted fear. I think for a lot of them, they've put a lot of energy, a lot of work, like their entire like career was built around them being able to, be in the position that they're in. I think that they fear losing that. They fear losing influence. They fear like losing their money, right? A lot of their money is interwoven into like all of these administrations, all of these like, contractors, all of these things. I think that they're afraid. I think they're also afraid of being exposed. Like, we can't put to the side the things that like they have done themselves, like in order to like.
Got one of his own guys that's the head of the FBI and the CIA.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to target, whether they said they're not going to target his people that because he don't like what. And Jamal, I'm sorry for cutting you off. I'm going to say this last point. I think that it's a waste of time. I think it's a waste of time to complain about what they've already talked about for years now.
Right.
I think that the Democrats and people that are opposed need to just sit back and organize, because I think that how Trump is doing what he's doing now, he's going to destroy a party for the 2 or 3 generations to come.
And the Democrats will be ready.
Doing your work, Trump, because I guarantee you this upcoming new group of voters and those of my age and younger, they're going to remember, and they're going to see how their parents suffer when they couldn't get Medicare. They're going to see how their grandparents suffer when they couldn't get their snaps. They're going to see how things occurred and affected them and their own family. And he's going to flip.
Yeah.
Traditional red states. He might even flip Texas.
He's already flipping Texas.
You flip some of these states, it can cause generational, time for recovery. It will not be the same Republican Party anymore. There will be a third party. I really feel like there will be the party of Trump. There's the Republican Party, and the conservatives are going to mesh with Trump. So that's the new party right there. There's no conservative party anymore. It's the Trump party. It's going to be the Republican Party. Then it's going to be your independents, which I think will be bigger. And your Democrats. So independents and Democrats, along with some modern Republicans, need to organize, take this time to put the groundwork in. So when it's time for them to go ahead and put out their game plan, they can. You waste too much time and energy.
Well, that's what the streets are talking about. The streets are talking about, and I gotta say the streets, the people in the street, which is us. We out there, we're talking about this, and people are angry. And what they're saying is that the Democrats are not standing up. They're not fighting back. But I'm thinking, like you, Ken Law, I think that they are fighting back. We don't see it yet. I think that they're organizing, they're getting stuff together, and when it's time to vote again, because remember, we got in 2 years, we got an election coming up.
Midterms,
We got the midterms coming up. So if we are doing, listen, look at the town walls, all the red states. People are mad. Those people are pissed.
Themselves. Sit back, let the parasite keep your message consistent of what your plans are for us going into the future. Let these people feed off of each other.
That's exactly what's happening.
All you gotta do, there's nothing much they can do from a policy standpoint, because everything is through executive order. They're not going through the chambers anymore.
But my thing is, you said something that Trump has. Jamel was like, he got the Supreme Court. You said that. He got the Supreme Court. He has the House. He has Congress. He has all these other people around him that's kissing the ring, blah, 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 right? But my thing is, can he or will he try to really take the third term and become a dictator? And my
He's
thing
definitely gonna
is, wait,
try.
let me finish. And my thing is that, like Ken Law said, he showed us who he was in 2016. He when in 2020 when when they stormed the Capitol. Then not only that, he showed us who he was with 2025, that whole manual. And all those people that wrote the manual are in his cabin.
Yeah.
They're in his cabin. When he said the whole time that he don't know nothing about it. But all those people that wrote that are in his cabin. Make
Yeah.
that make sense.
Yeah, you can't get too many coincidences and still keep telling me that, this wasn't planned. But I mean, I think at the same time, like, we can't put it past, like, I think to Kinlaw's point, like, yeah, everybody's watching. And I don't know a single person, like,
The
even
world is
supported this
watching.
man. Yeah, even the people who supported this man, like, they're starting to change their tune. They're starting to feel
Yup.
bad about the decision that they made. And like I think this is a net good that like everybody's kind of waking up like to how serious this politics stuff is and like, how serious like these people following through with their platforms. I think that people are starting to
But
understand
are we
politics.
going to be able to get
Right.
him out in 4 years?
But I was about to say,
Will we get him out in 4 years?
I think that he's definitely going to try to go for that third term. And I think that you can't put it past this man that like he's going to probably try to cheat again, like he always does. Like every time this guy comes into office, the question of like, is this a legitimate election always comes up. Last time it was Russia. This time it was Elonia. Next time, God knows, especially if all of his friends get what they want out of this administration, like who knows, like what's possible if for this third term, especially if he puts out executive order, if he gets his Congress to pass the law to allow him to have a third term, like I think that we should really be paying attention to that. And like to Kenlaw's point again, like I think it's good that the Democrats maybe should take a seat back and like do some planning or whatever. But
Well, they need to do
think
something. I'm
I
serious
think it should
because
be more public. I think you need more Jasmine
right, it
Crockett
needs to be
to
more
speak it
public
out.
because the people need to know that they are standing up and doing something. And
Yeah.
standing, okay, this is what people want. So you got the minority, the House Speaker. He's up there with graphs and charts and things, and he's talking about over these years or whatever. Nobody wants to see that. It's boring, and we're not hearing it. What we want is action. Like when they went down to the federal building and they was down there and they didn't get let in. Why didn't they storm in? They're
That's
like,
what I
wait
didn't
a
understand.
minute. Like one of the guys at the Democratic town hall, he was like, listen, we are with you. We will go to jail with you. Show
Mhm.
some action. Make a
Mhm.
move. Go in the building. Go in. Fight.
Yeah,
Show us that you're doing something. But
right.
you're not even willing to go to jail. You're not even willing to fight for us. So how can we fight if you're not fighting? That's exactly what they're saying.
I think that we need to start at a local level.
Yeah,
It's everything that affects you immediately. Start at your city and state level.
agreed.
The
Well, that's
federal
what they
stuff,
say they're doing. So
federal stuff is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
I think we need to get back to the basics. I think that what Jamal Bryant is doing, it didn't take a rocket scientist, but I'm glad that he used this platform for it, right? You want to
right.
start some boycotts and stuff, right?
And
But it's
even Alan Sharp too. Reverend Alan Sharpton.
but what I don't like about it is great. You walk into Costco, you buy some beef and some hot dogs, right? There needs to be a rollout strategy of organizing which minority business owners and products to go to. What is your backup plan to build and replace the revenue within our community to build us up? Okay, we can try our best to punish these corporations, but at the end of the day, what's the alternative to that? How are we pouring back into our own communities? The reason why you're not seeing these Indian groups, these Asian groups, and all stuff going hoopla because they've already built their own economic system.
Right, we don't got nothing. Like really, like nothing.
Much energy we put in of trying to cause harm or damaging other brands, we need to figure out a way, or these people that use their platforms need to also present information that's going to help us to help organize and build our own economic sources.
Well,
Yeah.
we did that before. We had Rosewood, we had Black Wall Street, we had all these things, right?
Do it
And they
again.
came in and they smashed it. They
Yeah, but
All right, so they won. They kicked our butts. Now what? We
how
supposed
about to say, like,
but
what we
they got, check this
what we
out.
now?
They got 3,000 when they're talking about to do the boycott on the 28th. They
Mhm.
had 3,000 black owned businesses. Why can't we shop there? Why
we
can't we
can.
build up those people?
We
Why
can,
can't
and we can, and like for not for nothing, like people are like, and it's becoming more of a movement to like shop black, buy black, search black, share black, uplift black. Black businesses more than ever like are starting to like really like, especially on like some of these like platforms like TikTok and stuff like that. They're really starting to make a name for themselves, and like right now they got like all of these products at Target. That's why the whole Target thing was such a big deal because a lot of black products are sold through Target shelves. But like at the same time, like these these products aren't going anywhere and they're starting to be uplifted. And this is where something like Black Wall Street or like, the Greenwoods and stuff like that can be built. But I think where black people fail is we don't have like a plan for this. Like we tend to just kind of like throw things at the wind and no one knows what to really do with
We
that.
try to cause harm, but how do we build? How do we plan?
Right.
right?
Yeah, everything is in reaction to like the harm and the pain that this country and the people in this country do to us. And I think that we need to change our mindset. Like, you need to have a plan of action, like, and not reaction.
I'm gonna tell you what they need to do. So Tyler Perry bought that land that the Confederate people were on, right? He
Hmm.
got that whole studio down in Atlanta, right?
Hmm.
If we can find something like that, a movement like that, instead of doing movies on it, instead of having, all movies, have all those 3,000 black owned businesses have a shop on that land. And
See,
I'm,
I think
I'm just saying, I mean, that's just my thought factor,
Well,
right?
no, I was gonna say, I just think that we need to step back even further than that and say we need a black constitution. Like you need to have like something that we are all in agreement about. Like we're not even in agreement about like what it means to even be black in this country. Like there's some people
Right.
that think that, there's some
Like
people that think that
all
you have to
black
be
people from the struggle or get it out the mud or grow up in
right.
projects, and that's a terrible stereotype.
Yeah, like I think that we have to truly define who is our community. What do we do? What do we believe in? What do we fight for? What
Right.
what are our values, like our collective values, and how do we make sure that those values are attended to? But
Right.
because there is no structure for that, because there's no format, everybody always got opinions, and we're just throwing opinions at each other, and there's no
Right.
consensus.
And one day of a boycott, it might make an impact in their pocket for that day and they lose
Yeah,
and
but then
the
after it's
stock might
over, it's
drop.
business
But
as
after that,
usual.
we're going right back to shopping there. We're going
Yeah,
right back to supporting them. We about to
yeah.
do the same thing. But I want to get into, I know Ken Lord don't know, when I had a conversation with him earlier, he was saying that he doesn't really know a lot about New York City. But
Mm.
I want to get into the mayor of New York City, Eric, what's his name?
Eric Adam.
Eric
Uh,
Adams, right? Who got this big controversy around him, who went down and kissed the ring of Donald Trump, and now he does not have to go to jail. They dropped his case, but
Well, they paused it.
they paused it. But he can still go to jail. But now we got Andrew Cuomo, who was the governor of New York. Now he's in the mayor's race. So,
Right.
Jamel, I'm gonna start with you because you're a New Yorker. You know about these people. So give me a little insight on what you think about, the mayor that kissed the ring and people want him out. And now we got Andrew, who was the governor, who had that controversy with 11 women that he
I was
sexually
about to say,
harassed them.
you just got two crooks fighting for a seat, over. And honestly, if you think about it, this is this is again like the Trump playbook. Like Trump likes to put people with something to lose, like in places of power so that he can control them. Like Eric Adams has something to lose. He had that whole So with Eric Adams, as we already know, like they had the whole FBI raid over like his vice
All of
governor,
that.
his house, and with Cuomo, like those sexual allegation charges, like let's not like skate over that. Like there was a lot of women and a lot of young women that were involved in that. Like this man was a creep. They got his text messages, they got his naked body for everybody to consume. Like this. But these are the people who are fighting for leadership over New York. It's like a circus. But like I think in New York, I don't know. Well, like with New York, you got to remember that that is Trump's town, right? Like so that's also Trump's town. Like and he has a lot of power in New York. That's honestly why I think that he's
Do you
vying
really
for
think he still has power in New York after all
for
that
sure.
controversy?
For sure, all of his networks, all of his people, all his friends are in New York. Trump is a New Yorker through and through. Like
Right,
that,
right, right, right.
that's
What
where
do
his
you think,
power lies.
Kilo? I mean, I know you said you didn't know much about, those two individuals, but what you think about what Jamel just said about Trump and having all that power and influence in New York?
I think that the case brought towards Eric Adams was a political stunt due to the things he was doing for those immigrants, the money, the cash, the
Yep.
the debit cards. I know it was a
Yeah, that
tad,
was a lot. That was yeah, that was a lot.
but that right there, I think people, whoever it was, there was an opportunist there that wanted to throw the first stone to see what they can shake up at. Same thing, I think, with the whole Diddy thing, but that's for episode number.
Oh
Right.
man, I could talk
We're gonna
days
talk
about
about that
that.
another time. This is
I could
politics
talk
right
days
now.
about that.
But
But
actually, all of that can tie into the politics because Epstein and all but we're gonna leave that for another time, y'all. Listen,
but
that's a real true mess right there.
to Jamel's point, there's no more rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There's no rule.
With the nomination of Donald Trump being in office at the highest office of this country, after all of the things that he's been charged with, indicted with, found guilty of,
Right, 30
there's
counts.
no more standards.
Yeah.
It's all about likability at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Put a convicted murderer on in the office if you wanted
Yeah.
to. Okay, and that's just the unfortunate. And it's just unfortunate because if you and I went to a corporate business or whatever,
We gotta do a
The
background check.
standards up here is through the roof.
our resume stands for something.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. It's like, why are you still having background checks? If we
Right.
got,
You got a felon in the office.
why
Yeah.
you
The
still got,
highest seat.
Yeah,
like,
the truth is,
just keep the same smoke on every level. Just take the whole convicted felon box off. If he's
Exactly.
fine, he's done. You know what I'm saying? Take the because you cannot say, well, we have a strict policy and this and
And
that.
not only that,
What's
DEI is off the table too. Don't ask me what my race is. Don't ask me if I'm male or female. Don't ask me if I have a disability because
the
all
whole
of
race
that is
thing,
off the table.
right? But the point of that was the whole DEI thing. Are we being
Right.
fair and just?
So it's off the table. So don't ask.
On merit, then let's just roll the dice. Don't
Right.
worry where I'm
Let
from.
my resume show you who I am.
There you go.
yeah, but I mean, I think even with like everybody has focused on like the hiring practices and stuff like that around DEI, but DEI was so much larger than that. Like it was about sensitivity training and stuff like that that needed to
But they
happen.
got rid of that too. Like all those
Well,
people
that's what
that
I'm
got
saying.
those jobs, they're
So
gone.
I think that like that's the part that everybody's missing about like the DEI like conversation is that it's more than just being hired in a place. There was a culture of like people demeaning people of
Diversity
color,
and inclusion. They
people
have the
of certain
training. They
genders.
have all of that.
And
Exactly.
now there is no framework for dealing with
Nothing.
those types of situations. And I think that that's kind of like, that's
Listen,
that's
we
really,
can even go even further. We can go back. They got rid of affirmative action, where
yeah.
people who can't go to school, they don't even have a chance now to have the same education as those people who are privileged that have the
And
ability to
listen,
go to
they
school.
had Trump had listen. You gotta remind yourself. He got in office right before Martin Luther King Day, MLK Day, or whatever. I think it was MLK Day. It's probably the saddest MLK Day that's probably
I
It
know.
was the 20th.
like MLK Day. But either way, that's a whole other thing. It's just now March.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just now March.
Right. Right, 2 days. This
It
is
felt
like,
like 2 years ago that this man got.
Yeah. Wait till he start allowing these states to take over these educational
oh, I'm
Yeah.
scared
these
for my
states are
grandchildren.
already failing.
Yeah, they're already taking books out of school.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. That's why I'm like, you know what? Just finish doing what you got to do.
Yeah, and you got to do
So,
what you got to do at home to like make sure that that education is being supplemented. Because
right. So I want to, we about to end this. So I just want to go around the table and I just want to ask a question. What do you think is going to happen? What are your thoughts in 4 years from now? So he has 4 years to run this country. So, Kinlaw, what do you think going to be at the end of his 4 year term? What do you think is going to happen? Your thoughts on
I
that?
think that here's the thing. It's just not. It's like you're riding a plane. You don't care what the pilot is. You just want the pilot to be able to fly the plane straight and land.
Mhm.
So with that being said, it's my hopes that Trump does the right thing. That the decisions that he makes is going to work out for the best of all of us. However, my right mind, I think that people are going to come out during midterms. They're going to shake up the House. They're going to probably shake up the Senate. They're going to turn everything back blue, and then they're going to start the impeachment process through due diligences. And I don't even think that he finishes his full term. That's my
That's what
thought.
I thought. Go ahead, Jamel. Your thoughts.
I mean, I think that what I hope for is what Ken Law says, but I think I think my better mind
Yeah.
I think my better mind is that like Trump wants to create the circumstances that makes him the better option. Like so what I mean is like I think he's taking a page out of like the FDR playbook, which is, if I can get us inside of a circumstance where like tensions are too high, there's too much chaos, and it's better for us to keep the seating president than like try to change things up. I think that that's what he's gonna do. Like, I think that that's why he's pushing for World War III and stuff like that. Like, history
Exactly.
shows that, like, when at war, people would rather stay with the status quo than start changing too many, variables because it just becomes hard, Like, and I think that that's. I think that that's what he's pushing for. Put the world at chaos, make you like suffer at home so that you can't really think beyond your immediate needs. Like, like some make it so that most dis the people who would vote blue, making sure that it's as difficult as possible for them to vote or for them to get out there. Like right now, he's making it so that in a lot of these states, they're trying to pass laws that make it so that if you don't have your born name, like this was like quote, this was
Yeah.
made like to like counter transgenders, but it actually harms women. Like women who get married and have changed their names for their husbands, they're not going to be able to vote in some of these in some of these red states. So it makes it so that the men, like the people who would want Trump to be in office again and want these Republican, red Congress members and stuff, is making it so that they'll be the only ones in town that will vote. So like
Right.
even if the state as a whole doesn't believe in this, they're not the voting body of people, and
So
I
I'm
think that
going to
he's
tell you what
creating
I
those
think.
circumstances for himself.
So I'm gonna have to we're gonna go ahead and close this out. But I think that at the end of all of this, in 2 years, like Ken Law said, and also Jamel, I believe that it's gonna be a blue house and a blue Senate, Congress, and we're gonna have back that power. And I'm hoping that
Okay.
he doesn't do what he says he's going to do, that he said in that book 2025, that he's going to be the dictator, he's going to wipe out all of the stuff, he's getting rid of education, all that stuff. I hope that he can't do it, and I hope that the Supreme Court will fight back and see that this is wrong. I'm hoping, because if they think about it, in 2 years, because the way it looks, the red states are mad and they're going to vote blue. But anyway, guys, I just want to say this is True Gossip, where gossip meets truth, and we take the gossip out of the truth. So, Kinlaw, who is your true mess for this episode?
My true mess will be the constant episodes that we're watching every day on YouTube, on your regular cable show, or whatever. So, just continue to stay buckled up, stay prayed up, and powers in numbers.
Jamel, who's your true mess for this episode?
Uh, MSNBC or just the news networks in general. I think that like a lot of what they're doing, like is alienating their their base, their viewership. I think that, you know, it sucks that News Corps are in bed with
All
politics.
right. So I,
But
you
like,
know
I think
what?
it's
I'm
been
gonna go with
hell.
the I'm gonna go with you guys because I agree that the true mess is the main media, the media that brings the news to us on those networks, and they are not bringing the truth. They're lying to us. They're not giving us the information that we need. They're cutting out the stuff that is important to us. So yeah, I believe that they are the true mess. So we also got the segment of the TruGem. Who is the TruGem?
Go ahead, Jamal.
I mean, it's hard to choose. I mean, because I know that you did the true gem of Jasmine Crockett last week. I love her, you know.
I love her too, but you know what? You can vote for her again.
Well, yeah, it's just that like I think that the woman should run for president. I
I
think that
said that
like,
too. I said that in one of my groups, and they told me it's too soon. But what do
but
you
it's not
think,
just her.
Lord?
She could have
Who's your
AOC
true
on the
gem?
ticket as well. I think AOC is also another like, strong woman that's out here saying the right things, but. Those are my true gems. I think they're constantly like on the ground floor. I think that at the very least, even if they can't do anything, they're making sure that their constituents are being informed. They're making
And
sure that they make
accountable.
sure that their voices are loud, and if not for nothing, like even if nothing ever occurs from all of this, I think that like they create a framework for other people to feel strong enough to stand up.
All
Yeah.
right. Go ahead, Ken Lord. Who's your true gem?
The true gem, I think, is the people. Over the course of the past couple of weeks or whatever, we're starting to see more and more turnout of protests. It starts with the people. You know,
Mhm.
the people needs to start looking within themselves to recognize the power that they have, whether it's boycotting, whether it's group economics, whether it's just speaking out and using their voices. I think there was a big turnout at Lincoln Memorial within the last 48 hours or so, like that. People pressuring those Republican constituents at these town hall meetings. They're making them stand on business. So I think in the next couple of years, if those things continue to persist, I think we might be able to make some real changes for the better half of the country and the sake of the country.
I like that.